Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me today at the home of Alpina here in Germany, my first time actually coming to visit, and today I'm going to be checking out and going for my first drive in the new Alpina B3. Now these are no ordinary 3 Series, in fact there is quite a lot to show you and tell you about today. The B3 is based on the M340i from BMW, except it has the S58 engine, or a derivative thereof, that's found in the X3M, the X4M and the new M3 and M4 models. It also mixes that with performance levels right up there in a car that is significantly more discreet, a sleeper car you could say, especially if you have the touring configuration. We have both the touring and the limousine to explore today, along with a comfortable ride that is more akin to the likes of a 7 Series. So today I will show you through everything that Alpina have done to these cars, all of the specifics that they've made to create the B3, and then take one of them out to go for a drive to see what it's actually like on the road. The first thing to be appreciated then about the cars from Alpina is that they're built to be discreet, to be the ultimate sleepers, to fit in this case, as ordinary 3 Series models to the untrained eye. Of course, if you know, you know, and in the case of these, they do match, or in some cases exceed, the performance levels of the new M3, and in the case of the touring, this is pretty much in a genre of its own in the BMW lineup, until the new M3 touring arrives in the lineup in the future. But when you're just looking at them, they don't scream and shout in the same way, they don't have those new gigantic vertical front grills, they just have a few touches which hint towards what they're capable of. So to show you around the 2 cars then in detail and go through them, and remember these are actually assembled on the BMW plant's assembly line itself, these with the other 3 Series models in the Munich plant, and the larger models from Alpina like the 5 Series, the 7 Series and the 8 Series, as I've seen before, go down the line at the BMW Dingolfing plant. But as you can see, the wheels, a few visual cues at the front end as well, and let's just run through these actually before we get to the engine, the interior, and then take it for a drive. But it all starts, I suppose, with the floating Alpina badge at the front, giving the name away of what's going on. Then behind the front apron you have additional coolers, of course, for the S58 engine that lurks within, and this slightly extended front splitter. It all goes through the wind tunnel to ensure the aero profile matches at the front with the lip spoiler that we have around the rear as well. We'll head towards that in a second. We've got the 20-inch Alpina forged wheels. These actually house behind them the 395mm front discs. On the front axle, they actually fit the same discs to this 3 Series that they have on the B7, the big 7 Series. They had their own covers in the centre as well, and these actually push to open up, he says, to reveal the lock to remove them, which I always think is quite fun. So we've got the performance discs, optional. They're actually sitting slightly further out as well to give the car a more dynamic profile, which means even the installation of these extended fender parts, of course, to keep the wheels inside the bodywork. As you come through, you'll spot up here, there is a roof lip at the front, which is again to do with the aero profile, because the car is capable of going, in the case of this, 303 kilometers per hour, 188 miles per hour, and the touring to 300 kilometers an hour, 186 miles per hour. They actually have that because at that speed on the German Autobahn, for example, you'd get some wind noise from the front of the sunroof that you have on the top, and this acts as a little deflector to ensure that it's peaceful, calm and comfortable on the inside. I love that kind of attention to detail. Then around towards the rear, we've got the lip spoiler installed here, the Alpina B3 badging designation, and then down at the bottom you'll spot the quad tailpipes instead of the single one you'd normally have on each side, so a new diffuser housing created for their bespoke exhaust system that's fitted to the car as well. So a few cues, but if you know what you're looking at, you would know. If we come through to open up the engine bay, you'll spot it locking and unlocking, which is all actually down to me having the key in my pocket and the car detecting when I'm walking towards it and away from it. We'll check out the interior of this one though, because it's a gorgeous specification. Inside here, the S58, the 3-litre bi-turbo inline 6. The S58 engine in this car makes 462 horsepower and 700 newton meters of torque. For some perspective, the new M3 competition is 510 horsepower, so a little bit more, but get this, only 550 newton meters of torque. This 150 newton meters more, thanks to Alpina's turbos, which are just down here, set up basically to give it huge amounts of torque for that effortless driving experience. New Alpina airbox, all new components, new cooling kit that they have at the front, and always the distinct replacement chassis number as the cars actually come down the assembly line. But thanks to mating that with the 8-speed ZF automatic gearbox, reinforced for the additional power, and the BMW xDrive 4-wheel drive system, means this does the 0 to 100 km/h sprint, 62 miles an hour, in 3.8 seconds, 3.9 1.9 for the touring, and up to 200 kilometers an hour in about 12.5. So a pretty quick machine, no question about that, and especially when it heads on towards its top speed. Close down the bonnet. No, I was going to come and show you the interior actually of the touring, which is in the Alpina green paintwork with the design that you can see around the side, the stripes that the car wears. But inside here, green and tan, always one of the best. Have a look at this. Just very, very nice. Small Alpina touches, for example, the side steps, the floor mats, the stitching on their new steering wheel. They use Lavalina leather, which is an upgrade leather, with the green and blue stitching that you can see, the Alpina badging, new dashboard displays, the blue displays, and those actually change as you go through various different modes. In the center, they have a distinct Alpina plaque, B3 Touring, number 25 in this case. Every car has its own unique plaque and its build number. But this car, I mean, you wouldn't necessarily know that that could go over 300, well, up to 300 kilometers per hour, unless you knew it doesn't have that shouty front end like the M3 does, for example. So I think I'm going to be taking out this one today, the Limousine variant. So let's come up to the car, which does basically recognize as you're walking towards it. I didn't have to press anything. It unlocks and the mirrors just open up for us. Inside here, we've got the more subtle daily driver spec, I think we could say, the black leather against the mineral gray exterior paintwork. But if I come through, I'm going to quickly show you the different dashboard displays. So starting up for a moment, here in regular mode, in comfort, you have the blue tinted sides. If you press this again, you actually get to Comfort Plus mode. If you press Sport, as you can see, you get the green touches as well, and then you've got Sport Plus. So Comfort Plus mode doesn't exist in regular BMW cars. That's not a normal option, and gone is EcoPro, which would typically be here. The idea being, though, that in Comfort Plus, the ride quality just gets to a completely new level. So I'm going to take it then out for a drive now and go and experience this for myself. Unsurprisingly, my first port of call is going to be to head to the Autobahn. We'll head to some country roads as well to get a feel for what this car is like in a host of different environments. And at the moment, I'm just driving and chilling, taking it easy in comfort mode. I'll actually keep it just in this for a second, just to get a feel for what it's like. And of course, the main thing that the car is going for is to be a daily, discreet, subtle car that you can drive fast, but you can do it in a comfortable way, like this, just chilling, just taking it easy. If we go into Comfort Plus very quickly, oh wow, you do feel that changing, and you do feel it just riding everything like it's completely nothing. That's actually quite surprising. Anyway, we're going to turn here and head onto the Autobahn. So to do so, let's press Sport. In fact, let's go to Sport Plus, I suppose. I noticed the exhaust valves open. We've got a little bit more sound behind us, and also the steering has weightened up. It's quite a big chunky steering wheel. I'm not normally the biggest fan of these huge steering wheels. I find them quite tiring to actually grip. Of course, the new leather that Alpina have fitted, and the new look now to the dashboard where you can change exactly what you're looking at. I'm hoping it's not going to be too busy, but afternoon, you never know. Okay, yeah, we do instantly start getting a move on. I mean, this is the thing, right? Just easy, 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 easy performance. 200 plus, perhaps more wind noise than I might have expected from the car normally, which would be limited to 250 kilometers an hour, or with a driver's package you can up that slightly, but certainly not to the 303 that this car offers at the top end. You've really got to think that is a very, very, very big number. It's a very quick car, and it does so not being a big shouty car. I mean, the 3 Series is really and truly growing up when it comes to something like this. You know, it's becoming a proper serious thing. Foot down, kick down, 190, 200, 210, 220, 230, 240, 250. That is, of course, 155 miles per hour, the normal top end, and it's still pulling very, very hard at that stage. Now, of course, the other thing that you notice is in gear, if we go manual with the car, actually just put it up a gear. So what am I in? I'm in 7th gear at 3,000 RPM. Even here, there is some pull. You're not waiting forever for it to get a move on. In fact, let me slow down quite a substantial notch. Fortunately, it's not too busy where we are at the moment. Let's go down to something like 100 kilometers an hour. Should be fine. Get some bubbles from it as well. So 5th gear, it's 100 kilometers an hour. and there comes the power, and there it comes, and there it comes, and keeps going. It's just a different profile. Obviously this is in the full Sport Plus mode. I think we should pop it back into drive and pop it now into comfort, where instantly you feel the suspension soften. Actually, that's gone straight into comfort plus, so it remembers where you previously had it. And here, as I was informed by Schmark150, manager of Schmark150, who had driven the car before, it feels like a magic carpet, and you do get that sensation. You know, it's not overwhelmingly loud in terms of the engine noise. I'm sure the M3 and M4 will be massively louder in terms of noise that comes a bit from the speakers, of course, the general direction of the world right now. But suspension-wise, for a fast blast on the Autobahn, this is, I guess, pretty much exactly what you'd want, and it really doesn't feel like you're driving a small 3 Series. It feels like driving something significantly bigger and I guess with more presence and more overall, well, everything. But it's a 3 Series. It's a 3 Series that goes really quite quickly and very, very comfortably in the process. Even in Comfort Plus then, kick down, away we go. This is of course D-restricted section, so where it's safe to do so, it is legal to accelerate. There's no speed limit posted. Just some trucks to watch out for, but easily back to 250 kilometers an hour, where we have a speed notification. Firm on the brakes. Interesting noise it made there. We'll work out what that was about. Off the Autobahn for some driving in normal town environment, out in the countryside. And I tell you what, in a way, it's a bit like that feeling from a Rolls-Royce where you get in the car and you just want to drive it quite gently. You want to drive it easily and just have a nice ride, have a nice experience. And of course, if you wanted to, you have adaptive cruise control, you have all the sensors, blind spot monitoring, everything that modern cars have in terms of safety and technology. And obviously being based on the M340i means that it has all of the 3 Series options available, that complete list, which is pretty much endless in terms of how you want to spec up your car and how you'd like to configure it. You've got all the touchscreen at the center, you've got your multi-zone climate control, basically just a general all-round very, very nice place to be. Now we head out onto a slightly faster road. Obviously in Comfort Plus it's not quite so responsive on the gearbox, you'd expect that. It's not about thumping it from A to B. We're just cruising on the 100km/h limit roads. She rides even here pretty well. Obviously the wider track helping from a dynamics point of view, but not that uncomfortable considering we have the 20-inch wheels. Often you'd think with 20-inch wheels the ride would be significantly hindered, but I suppose that's where all the work has gone into creating their own suspension setup. Alpina's own springs fitted to the car. It sits lower than the standard car. It's 20mm lower, so 2 centimeters lower, just under an inch or so. But all round, it's a car that clearly would do a very nice job of eating up the miles on the Autobahn, while also being exceptionally easy to use daily. You know, if you're a business person who doesn't want to shout about the car that you've got, you could have one of these without the badging on the outside, have the option to drive very, very quickly, but turn up and it's just a 3 Series. It could be a diesel bottom entry-level 3 Series, except it's an Alpina B3. Back on a nice road. Look at this though. I'm going to pop the car back into Sport. We'll keep it in normal Sport as opposed to Sport Plus just for the moment. So still in automatic. I'd like it to drop down a little bit faster, but you can then put the gearbox separately into the sportier gearbox setting. Or if you go manual, that's where of course it will stay manual. Otherwise, if you have it in drive and you go manual, after some period of time it will revert back to normal. The sounds are surprisingly interesting. I wasn't expecting it to make so many pops, burbles and rumbles and cracks and things behind us. But yeah, in sport mode, I mean, even here it's actually quite a good package. I wouldn't say it's the most exciting car in the world. I'm sure that's going to be reserved directly from BMW M, of course, for the M3 competition and the M4 competition, their various derivatives. But clearly what this is for is that understated, high-power, luxury vehicle that doesn't shout about it, as I said earlier. It doesn't scream and shout what exactly it is. And here, obviously with everything stiffening up a touch, you feel that more with the bumps of the car, but just rides through here very nicely. You know, this is a great road to be on. Big smile on the face, and obviously it's a practical, functional car. You know, there's a lot of space behind, whether it's this car, the saloon, sedan, limousine, however you'd like to call it, or if it's the touring. Let's go back up though into Sport Plus, try out what it's like to actually drive it pretty dynamically. This is a perfect road to experience driving this car, and I mean the in-gear pull, the torque actually kicks in at 700 Newton meters from 2,500 RPM. That is significantly lower than you would normally expect to find the peak of the torque, and obviously that's down to how the car is set up, how it's mapped, how the turbos are actually chosen, Alpina specific turbos as opposed to the normal ones that you would find attached to the S58 engine. And the mixture of the sounds out of it, I'm actually starting to get really more into this the more that I'm driving it. I mean, we've got a few nastier bumps on the tarmac here, but even in Sport Plus it still rides them magically well. Like, no joke, that is really an area this car excels very, 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 very highly. And what a perfect day to be driving it as well. Beautiful roads, beautiful place, some sunshine now poking through the clouds as well. This was a very, very good place to bring this car. Of course, it's sometimes about taking a car to the right place to drive it, but this is a daily car, so we do need to have the balance between these kind of twisty roads, the Autobahn, and I suppose some normal driving. Obviously in town or that kind of thing, that's where you have your usual stop-start and just use the auto gearbox and take it easily and let everything happen automatically. And you know, a big part of a car that if you're spending hours and hours and hours a day, every day, going somewhere, traveling somewhere, commuting with it, whatever it might be, is that it doesn't leave you feeling stressed, that you get out of it after a long drive feeling relaxed, and you certainly feel in here like that would be the case. You're not having to yank at it all the time, the steering isn't crazy heavy, obviously the ride being soft helps with that as well, and then you know that it has the various bits of technology if you want to use those as well to help enhance the ride, or the driving experience I should say, and make it even more so. The steering wheel for me, as I mentioned, is a little bit larger than I would like, and I'm surprised still that there is some more wind noise than I would necessarily like out of the car as well, but this thing is about the drive, and I mean, it clings on. Obviously four-wheel drive, X-drive. It's not the MX drive that you get in the M3, which has the switchable system that you can make permanently rear-wheel drive. This is a permanent four-wheel drive system. It is a rear bias, so it will let you slide around, and then obviously if you're going sideways through a corner, let's say, when you put your foot back down, it will use the front wheels to pull you back into a straight line. And I guess what more could you ask for? Four-wheel drive gives you safety, stability, performance. Ultimately, for most people, it's a better thing overall if the weight penalty isn't too significant. And of course, this isn't the lightest car to begin with. The new 3 Series is quite a big step up from the old one. I mean, all of these cars get bigger and bigger and bigger as they go from one generation into the next. But mix it with the extra niceties of the interior. I will show more of that when we get back, and all around, what more could I ask for? Back out onto the Autobahn, but let's just drop it down to second gear and have a bit of an acceleration here. Sometimes these things, when you're in the firmest setting, can be way too much, quite often actually with BMWs, so I like what Alpina have done in terms of actually not making that over the top. Because I don't like it when you get this really, really big fake kick from a gearbox that doesn't need to, you know, that can do it smoothly. 290 and then very firm on the brakes. I mean, the point is proven that even at that level, the car is still climbing and climbing and climbing. That was actually, I went completely silent because I was concentrating on how fast it was accelerating and being a little bit staggered by it. To be honest, I didn't really expect that. You feel like 303 would come and just be gone and dispatched instantly. Interesting, maybe that's quite a conservative estimate that they've put on the VMAX of the car there. I think its performance potentials have been well demonstrated. Let's pop it back into automatic and of course back into Comfort Plus, because I think really that's probably more what it's about, you know, just cruising along, just chilling, just relaxing in the car. I'm just still like a little bit mind blown by how quickly that went in a 3 Series. A 3 Series. The 462 horsepower is of course down on the 480 of the normal M3 and M4 and the 510 that you get with the M3 competition, M4 competition, because of going for the turbos with more torque. But torque is also what you feel when you're accelerating, and I certainly felt like that was a shove in the back, an endless shove in the back. That was really impressive, honestly. The way it kept pulling at the similar kind of way it was in the early 200s all the way into the late 200s. I never looked at the gap in front of me and thought that was going to be a 290 km/h possible straight. Just wow, to be honest. This is, yeah, it got a very, very, very quick move on. I tell you what, now that we've arrived back at Alpina, I'm thinking a little bit more about this. It's not the most exciting car in the world to drive, but it's also not trying to be. What it would do is annoy an M3 owner when you're behind them on the Autobahn and you want to go a little bit quicker. But let me show you a little bit more now around the Touring, which does look stunning in the green metallic paintwork with the sunshine glistening off it. I mean, it's just, you know, it's well equipped. We've got the BMW laser headlights, which of course have this notch that was introduced. It has the openings at the front that reduce drag when they can close, or they can be open for additional cooling if required. Inside here, I should have the key in my pocket, it works perfectly. You know, everything's just well equipped, really, really nicely packaged overall. Let's just start it back up. Touring number 25 inside here. You can hear the sounds of it. Obviously this is in comfort. If you go into sport, you see the change, and we'll hear a little bit more of that as well when it's warmed up a touch. You've got some small touches, you know, the Alpina detail on the dashboard as well. Looking around, look here at the headrest, the blue and green elements, the full extended interior that they offer with all of the customizations. Obviously you've got the climate control and the hotkey here for your safety systems, individual configuration to go through everything that the car offers. Then you've got your hotkeys as well, your almost touch keys for the different modes and whatever it might be that you want to open. Inside here, storage bucket with your charging pad, your cup holders, USB 12 volt. Then you get down here to your car, your driving things, your modes, adaptive if you just want to put everything basically into automatic, traction, your cameras if you like to bring up the surround cameras or what exact option you have set for that car. Hotkeys again for the infotainment. And just all around, you know, well equipped. USB-C port in the armrest, everything that you expect from the M340i in its regular state. But of course, for the Touring, with the added bonus of having a very large amount of luggage space in the back, of course, decent luggage space, or sorry, passenger space, I should say, behind, and then the option as well, I think, for a power fold tailgate as well that you can have on the car with the 40-20-40 folding rear seats. So plenty of room, plenty of luggage capacity, the cargo cover over the top. It'll be really interesting to see as well what happens with the M3 and how that does stack up. But if you want to go somewhere fast, comfortably, discreetly, you can't really do better. Perhaps not in the green with the decoration, but in the mineral grey. I mean, that is one of the ultimate ways, isn't it, to go about it? To drive a car that is hugely capable, goes at great speed, and I believe as well, by the way, the wind that you hear is just what you normally hear in an M340i, but now obviously at faster speeds, because you don't normally drive 290 kilometers per hour in an M340i, which off the top of my head must be something like 179 miles per hour, which is, quite frankly, really very, very fast. So I enjoyed that drive. That was a really interesting learning experience. And of course, these are cars that you order through your dealership. They're built on the BMW assembly plant. They're not aftermarket changes. They're warranted as you would expect. And the car is delivered like this, the full Alpina B3 package. So what a car it really is. I hope you've enjoyed this video though. Thanks for coming along for the drive. Thank you for watching as always. I appreciate your support an awful lot. That is it for this time though, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.